morning, hello and welcome. You're watching the biggest exclusive with me, Poonam Burde. On November 11th, the topmost court of this country set free 6 convicts serving life imprisonment for assassination of a former Prime Minister. Rajiv Gandhi and dozens others were killed in a suicide bombing back in 1991 while he was on campaign trail in Tamil Nadu. Now, the assassination was seen as an act of retaliation after he sent Indian peacekeepers to Sri Lanka in 1987, only for 1,200 men to lose their lives in battle. Now, the Tamil sentiment was running high back then, and even now that happens and that's evident with the kind of response that we've seen from all Dravidian parties when these convicts were released. Now, yesterday, the centre moved the top court seeking a review of last week's order. The centre said that the Supreme Court order is legally flawed. They argued that seeking the government's assistance in such a matter was paramount and the court had failed to do so. Centre alleged that principles of natural justice were breached. It's a miscarriage of justice, they said. Some very, very strong words coming in from the central government in their review petition. But take a look at all that's transpired so far.
Saying right from the day one that these convicts should not be released, and that is what our stand was. Whether it is BJP or the central government, we were very, very clear because it will have international ramifications. That's what we have said in our affidavit also. Who are not Indians, they are foreigners.
DMK stand has been that no person should be put to death. Late leader Kalanya says it's about changing the heart of the person and to reform them. That should be the main goal. They have become educated, they have written articles and so on and so forth. They have reformed themselves. So now there is no point why they should stay in prison beyond this.
Now, there are two sides to every coin like any other, and the same goes for this case as well. One side argues on humanitarian grounds and the other which counters with a fallout of such a judgment that came to the fore on November 11th from the Supreme Court. So let me break it down for you what the two sides of the arguments are. As far as the release of 6 convicts go, those people who are justifying this relief, they go on to cite multiple precedents of pardon to death row convicts. They say it's the right to equality. Meanwhile, on the other side, the argument is that this specific crime, the assassination of a former Prime Minister of the country, especially by those that were coming in from Sri Lanka, has global ramifications. So the messaging is also very, very important. Now, those that justify this relief, they go on to talk of reformative justice. They say that 31 years in jail is more than enough. The convicts have also been well behaved for those 31 years. That's the argument that they make. On the other side, the ones who say this is a dangerous precedent, they go on to talk of how there was a diabolical cross-border plot between India and Sri Lanka, and that cannot be ignored, and that cannot be a precedent for other cases. There are many who continue to justify that relief, especially down south in Tamil Nadu. All of the Dravidian parties have been welcoming these convicts and their release. They say that on a personal level, even the Gandhis had forgiven these convicts. Priyanka Gandhi had gone down to Tamil Nadu, met with Nalini, and she said on a personal level, I forgive you. But there are those who say that this crime was not against the Gandhi family or just the relatives of Rajiv Gandhi. He was the Prime Minister back then. So this crime was against the entire country. A democratically elected Prime Minister was targeted, was assassinated, and that cannot be forgotten. There are some who say that there needs to be resolution that is passed by a state legislature to ensure release of these convicts. Now, those who say this can lead to dangerous precedents in other case, they say that this kind of commentary that we see is nothing but a petty political fight. All that is happening is politics of vote bank that is taking precedence over national security. So those are the two sides of the coin, and I want to open this up to my panelists who join us here on this broadcast. And the question that we asked here on the biggest exclusive is that the release of these 6 convicts, is that justified or is that a dangerous precedent? Narayan Lakshman, Associate Editor of The Hindu, Swati Malik, Congress spokesperson, A. Sarvanan, spokesperson of the DMK, and Subhash Jha, a lawyer, joins me on this broadcast. And I'd like to get started with Mr. Lakshman. Where do you stand on this, sir? Do you think there is a dangerous precedent that can be set? Because like the centre says, this was about the highest office in the country, a democratically elected Prime Minister being attacked by someone from across the border. So there are global ramifications that need to be looked into.
Obviously, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Yeah. So I don't think a dangerous precedent is being set here because nothing extra constitutional has happened. And I think that is important to bear in mind. Before we talk about, things which happened, which we're questioning the highest courts of the land, we should look at whether due process was followed, constitutional norms were abided by, and a legitimate legal result was obtained. Now, I don't at all for 1 second try and say that this is a non-controversial case. There is definitely controversy here. Sentiments are very high. Obviously, a Prime Minister of a nation is assassinated by terrorists from another country. It's certainly not taken lightly, and it has had echoes through Indian and Sri Lankan politics ever since that time. But when, as you said, there is also the fact that these convicts have languished in prison for this long. The process, in a sense, is part of the punishment. I'm not saying it is undeserved. It was definitely deserved. At the lengthy incarceration coming to an end, the court has freed them. I think it is definitely important that we consider the broader politics of the situation. It is not even, as you said, the Gandhi family or the Congress that is on the front foot that is pushing back on this judgment and calling for review. It is the BJP that is doing so, having power at the center. And let's not forget the context of the BJP trying to find a foothold and greater echoes for its own brand of saffron politics in the state of Tamil Nadu and not really making major headway so far through the standard election route. So such political gimmickry certainly benefits them. I'm not saying that their case is without merit,
right,
but you have to look at the context is my simple argument.
Right, but I would like to get in the Congress spokesperson on this as well, because even though the review has come to the fore from the central government, a BJP-run government at that, the Congress had reacted in a way there where they said that this was not acceptable when the verdict came to the fore. And Swati Malik, Congress has been categorical as far as this particular verdict goes, even though we have seen in the past the kind of messages that have come to the fore from the Gandhi family themselves as far as what happened or forgiveness to Nalini and the other accused are concerned. Where do you stand on what the centre has said in court about it having international ramifications and that this is about national security?
Poonam, while we support the centre's review petition and the grounds taken therein, I just have one question to ask the government out here. Please tell me, where was the AG when the matter was called out? The court was told the AG was travelling. So it is not true when the government says that they were not heard. They chose not to be heard. They chose to be absent from the court on the day the matter was to be argued. That is what has happened. Now, when they're seeking this review, it is nothing but an eyewash. It's the whole intent. If they wanted to, their action and their words are so different from each other. If they really wanted to oppose this, release, they should have been arguing it in the court. Right now, when the order's been passed, and of course they're all review is permissible, and we're all within their rights to seek review. But how much of it is going to even succeed is my question to the central government. Another thing, Poonam, I want to ask out here, like the Congress has been saying, Mr. Rajiv Gandhi was not just the leader of the Congress. He was the sitting Prime Minister of the country. Today, Mr. Narendra Modi is not just the leader or the head of BJP as we see him. We respect him as the Prime Minister of our country. And that is why assassination of a Prime Minister has to be taken a lot more, we have to see it across all politics. We have to remove all political color on this. And that is the reason BJP, the central government, the Prime Minister, the Home Minister, somebody should have at least made a statement in last, from 11th November till now. A week has passed and we've not heard anything from the central government except for the fact they filed this review petition yesterday, which is nothing but an eyewash, just to probably, try and give an impression that they're opposing it. That is it. But in their
so it's all for political points. It's just a brownie point situation for the BJP is what both the Congress and the other panelists also says. But I want to get in the lawyer on this panel, Mr. Jha, and I want you to respond to the argument that Swati Malik was making about the centre not being present while the hearing took place. So they can't now turn around and say that that you didn't ask us for our opinion. Now, there have been times in other cases as well where recesses have been asked for, adjournments have been asked for the unavailability of a certain lawyer. In such a case, could that have been a possibility?
Center would be committing a blunder if they seek review of the order passed about 10 days back. The review has to be sought because try to understand what has happened in this case. There is another judgment rendered on 18th of May 2022 in the matter of AG Pararivalam. So that was the judgment which has been followed now. So if at all this review is filed, the review has to be filed in respect of the earlier judgment and not this. Because this judgment in the matter of Nalini and 2 others or 3 others follows the judgment dated 18th of May 2022. And this is something I agree with some of the panelists who have said that this is a case where the Prime Minister of country lost his life and he was assassinated. Now we will be giving an impression of we being too soft a state. In 31 long years, we have been able to convict, and ultimately, now the incident is of 1991. In 1999, not only the highest court of the country, that is the Supreme Court, dismisses the SLP, but also dismisses in the month of October 1999 their review petition. So something which has happened in 1999, the time has come when we must fix responsibility on the executives. It is high time that even the Supreme Court must not take it as a mere delay and therefore let them go scot-free. No,
Sure.
Time has come to make people who are responsible for ensuring that the judgment is followed in its letter and spirit, and those people who have been found guilty be punished, and punished by hanging them. There was otherwise, but for their not hanging, if they would have hanged on time, the sentence would not have been commuted. And then furthermore, the situation like in which we are faced today, we would not have been facing this kind of a situation at all. So ultimately, if at all a review has to be filed of the judgment also of 18th May 2022. Otherwise, filing review in this matter is not going to suffice, will be absolutely futile exercise.
Right, Mr. Saravanan, the DMK we've seen has been welcoming the release of these convicts. When Nalini was also released, we saw the Chief Minister himself meet the family, and we've seen the kind of commentary that has come to the fore from all Dravidian parties, not just the DMK. But there are many who would argue that, and even the centre is saying that this is about national security. It's not about one family, and it's not about humanitarian grounds and 30 years in jail. You are setting a precedent. And if we speak of this particular judgment itself, as far as pardon goes, the fact that their sentence was commuted from death to life sentence, and then the claim of remission was actually denied by the Supreme Court at one point in time. So there have been measures that were legal recourses that were taken in the past, and this perhaps is erroneous, like the centre is also pointing out.
Yeah. Is there a BJP spokesperson in this panel?
There isn't, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah. Why? Why are they running away from this debate? Your channel is one of their favorite channels. Why have they chosen not to participate in this debate? If they think this is very important, they participate in all the debates. So it is just the BJP wants to do politics in this. We have made it very clear that this release, we are seeking this release on humanitarian grounds, because for 10 long years, they have starred at death row, and 30 years they have been inside the prison. And a similarly placed convict, Gopal Vinayak Godse, has been granted remission by the Supreme Court itself in the 1960s. So it is not without precedent. Based on all these aspects, we sought for release of these persons. The other important aspect is how the BJP is playing both hot and cold. Using the office of the governor, this resolution was sent to the assent of the governor 4 years back. The governor was sitting on this file. So the BJP wants to stall off the functioning of elected state governments using the office of the governor. On the one hand, they don't come to court. They allow the courts to pass judgment. Then looking at the backlash, they think they've done something wrong. They again come back here and file a review petition. And now they don't even come to defend this. Are they scared? What are they scared of? The very fact that they have not participated in this debate shows clearly that they are running away from this debate. They have done something wrong. They are, by filing this review petition. They ought not to have done that. If it's not, none of the facts are new. All these facts are known, that someone is a foreigner, does not belong to, is not an Indian citizen, is languishing inside the prison. This is known for the last 30 years. So they cannot claim that as a new fact and try to ensure that file a review plea on that ground. So it is mere politicking of the BJP. They wanted, the elections are around the corner. They are thinking, because of what the Congress is claiming, they think that their vote count may impact it. That is the reason why they want to file this review plea for the sake of politics and run away from answering.
Right, we did try and contact the BJP and ask them to be a part of this discussion. I'd like to put it on record that unfortunately we haven't had a response from them as far as participating in this debate goes.
That's what I said, they will not respond because they want to run away
from
this.
Yeah, so also is this in hindsight? That's a question that many are asking, Mr. Lakshman, because the verdict came in from the Supreme Court last week on 11th of November. It's 18th today. So if there was something that they thought was legally flawed, as they have claimed in their review yesterday, should they have done this 1 week ago when the verdict came out? Is that why also the BJP faces allegations of this being nothing other than eyewash?
Yeah, definitely. I think some panelists have said this is a belated sort of half measure, and very little actual legal justification has been offered. The courts have acted based on what is the principle of natural justice. So the sense that, 31 years of improvement is a sort of punishment does prevail. There is a sense of that. But at the same time, let's also not forget that the masters of this dastardly plot are all dead. They have all been hunted down. None of them is running free. These are certainly people who are involved, if we're going back to what happened, but they are mid to low level operatives. And the game of political football has gone on far enough. I certainly am not at all saying we should take lightly the fact that a sitting Prime Minister was assassinated. That shook the nation. It continues to remain in the annals of our history in India. But we also have to get to the nitty-gritty of what is happening in the prison system, the idea of natural justice, as I said, and how long can you postpone the release or the conviction of these inmates without embarrassing yourself as a fair and balanced legal system. I think that point, as one of your panelists said, has long been crossed. So keeping all of these pictures in mind in terms of what happened back then and what has happened since then, this is a very foolhardy move is what it seems to me. And even at this stage, as you said, it's not that it happened last week. It didn't happen certainly at the time of the May 2022, the Tiwari release time. Nothing has been referenced, and then out of the blue, this is a review petition is filed. I think that it becomes very hard not to look at the political motives that could be underlying it.
And Mr. Jha, I want you to have the last word on this debate because legally speaking, that's where we stand right now. A review has been filed, not to preempt what would come out of the Supreme Court as far as this case goes. But what can we expect for it to further happen? Like, what is the expectation anyone would have of where this review petition is even going to go? I believe we've lost that connection with Mr. Jha, but all our other panelists continue to be with us. And I would like to get the DMK spokesperson A. Saravanan in. As we wind up this debate, like I was saying, do you think this petition actually goes anywhere? Is there any outcome that is expected out of this? Or like you say, it is just for votes and pandering by the BJP, and they also perhaps know nothing is going to come out of it?
Yeah, see, we know how Supreme Court deals with review petitions. Most of them, probably 99% of the review petitions are summarily rejected. Probably this also will have the same fate, but until the elections, they will want to project a picture as though so BJP is against, BJP is strong on everything, BJP is this, BJP is that. We have seen how they have released the rape convicts in the Bilkis Banu's case. And no review petition has been filed by any of the union government or the Gujarat government. In fact, the union government has released Bilkis Banu's convicts This is just after the Prime Minister spoke about women empowerment and safety of women. This is the double standard. Now the BJP is standing exposed thoroughly by its double standards.
Right.
Yeah. So people will realize this, and these kind of maneuvers just ahead of elections
Right.
is not going to cut ties with the people.
Right, we did hope that the BJP would be here to take those questions and answer them for you. But I thank my panelists here on this broadcast. We're running out of time. The controversy there continues. Before now, we're shifting focus. Moving on now to a historic moment in India's space history. It was a big boost as a private rocket Vikram S was successfully taken off under the mission Prarambh. The liftoff took place at about 11:30 a.m. this morning from Sriharikota. The startup company Skyroot Aerospace designed the rocket and named it Vikram S, befitting tribute to the father of the country's space program, Vikram Sarabhai.
It is indeed a new beginning, a new dawn, and shall I say, very appropriately as our team members have put it, a new Prarambh in the journey of India's space program. And very many thanks to Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji, who has made this effort possible by opening up the space sector to public-private participation. It's also a major step forward to India developing its own space ecosystem and emerging as a frontline nation in the community of world nations.
So, CEO and co-founder of Skyroot, Pawar Kumar Chana, now joins us on this broadcast live, and he really is the brains behind all that we saw today, all that went up in 300 seconds, something that the country is entirely proud of. And congratulations to you, Pawan. Thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. Like I said, you've created history in those 300 seconds, the 5 minutes when all of us were glued to our seats, watching and praying for success for you, for the entire country. What was going on in your mind for those 5 minutes?
Yeah, first of all, the heart was beating very fast for the first 10 seconds of countdown, the last 10 seconds of countdown just before the launch. So that was like, it's a real experience, just to see the vehicle lift off, from the launch pad. And from then on, I think we followed the trajectory, and it has been a wonderful, flight overall. And we rejoiced, successful first flight in the maiden attempt, which is a historic, landmark for the country as well.
Absolutely, and a historic landmark for you as well, because your startup is just 4 years old and you've already made the country proud. You've set a benchmark as far as India's space journey is concerned. Did you actually imagine this would be your journey when you founded the company just in 2018?
Absolutely. In fact, like I thought, the policy would take a much longer time to, get ironed out. And in fact, like I thought, that would be the major challenge when we started off in 2018. But it now happens that policy is, all sorted out, and the tech has been a major challenge compared to the, the policy part. So it's been like completely different, unexpected, but a wonderful journey overall.
Right. Right, but you say that, you yourself anticipated that the policy would take much longer, and yet you decided to launch or get in perspective your company in 2018. At that time, there were absolutely no private players in India. The sector was only opened up in 2020. So what is it that actually made you take that leap of faith? Did you think that the policy was in the offing, or were you just hoping that that would be the case?
Yeah, so in fact, like this is always a chicken and egg problem. So unless there is, good number of players, there will not be a regulatory framework. And unless there is a regulatory framework, you'll not find many people wanting to get into it. So, so what we thought is like, we'll take the big initiative. In fact, we had the confidence that if we, get to that threshold, limit where we develop really good tech, I think we thought that the government would definitely consider and open up the sector to private players. And then we took that leap of faith in 2018, and also at that time we found the opportunity as being one of the earliest players to get into this business, which also is very important for a private company. So we clutched that opportunity early on, which really paid off right now. Which we're very quickly
Right.
were able to build some really extraordinary tech, and get to launch and also succeed in the first flight, which is also very rare for a rocket company.
Absolutely. So you had the first movers advantage, as they say. And if I'm not mistaken, we've been talking about technology. You said the tech part was also something that was difficult, not just the policy bit. But from what I know, and if I'm not mistaken, your technology and innovation is actually bringing down these launch costs by about 50% when you compare it to other global players. So can you elaborate on that for our viewers? How did you actually manage to achieve that? What went on behind that?
Yeah, it's not only it basically has two factors. One is the tech, of course, and the other is also the advantages of operating a space company out of India. So where we have definitely a similar advantage to what we have in IT. So in fact, we would say a good portion of it comes from the tech, and also the remaining portion of it comes from being a very cost efficient nation, to build a space company from.
Absolutely, and ISRO is also known for being a cost-effective space agency as compared to NASA or any of its counterparts, and that really trickles on into private players, I guess, as well. And it's not just you. Now, just 2 years after the sector was actually opened up to private players, we have over 100 now. All of them are eyeing to work with the ISRO, are already doing so. Do you think that somewhere we are headed towards an end of ISRO's monopoly, so to say, because that's all that we know as far as the space sector goes?
And so in fact, now the government has announced reforms in 2020, where any private player in the country, can build any kind of space product and service, and related regulatory permissions would be taken care by the government. And government is going to enable, authorize, and even promote the private players in this field. So once the reforms have come, there itself there is a change in the mindset that ISRO would be more like an enabler for the private agencies,
Right.
and not a competitor. So basically, there is no rise of competition, or any other sort of arrangement with ISRO, because it's
Right.
more like an enabler for the entire private ecosystem is what the reforms want.
Right, so they're going to play the role of a mentor, so to say, and not really, there won't be really public-private competition that we see. One last question before I let you go, Pawan. What is it going to be next for you personally and for Skyroot as well? Is it time for celebrations, and are you going to take a break after today's historic achievement, or have you already begun working on your next project?
We are, in fact, reviewing the data from the flight, which is also very, very important. The data looks great, but of course, we have to conclude on the, what's good for the flight, and what next. So I think we'll take a quick, probably a day or two break, because it's a weekend. And in fact, our crew has been working a day and night at the launch pad and the integration facilities for the last 1 week. So we really need a break. But of course, because the success is really wonderful feeling to have. And then this break would really get us recharged soon in a couple of days.
Absolutely. Congratulations to you and your team for not only this successful launch, but also for making the entire country proud with your achievement. And thank you so much for taking out the time and speaking with us, Pawan, here. With that, it's a wrap from me on this edition. But news and updates continue on CNN News 18. Don't go anywhere.